All right, welcome to the Monday morning edition of the Morning Pitt here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. The YouTube channel is the same, but as you might have noticed, we're not in the Panther-Lair.com studios. We're on location, out of town this weekend, preventing me from going to the spring game on Saturday, but thanks to the marvels of modern technology, I was able to catch up on it yesterday and watch everything that you watched thanks to the replay on ACC Network or ESPN or what have you. Because we have to have a spring game wrap-up edition of the Morning Pit here to start your week. You know the deal. You know what we always ask you to do. Like this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe button is right down there. Click that and you will never miss any of our exclusive Pit video content that we post here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Post-game press conferences, post-practice press conferences, interviews, practice highlights. We're going to have a bunch of practice highlight videos this week. A few things that I collected over the last week or so of spring camp. We'll roll that out for you this week right here at youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. You want to make sure you don't miss any of it. So subscribe to the YouTube channel and, of course, our live show that we do every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com, the live Panther-Lair show. You don't want to miss that either. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, turn on notifications, and you can get alerts sent to your phone. And then you'll never miss anything that we do. And, of course, the website, Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. The most comprehensive source of Pitt sports news on the internet, football, basketball, and recruiting. Found it all at Panther-Lair.com and message boards where you can interact with hundreds and thousands of other Pitt fans. So go check out the site, Panther-Lair.com. Get all our coverage from Saturday. Like I said, I wasn't able to attend, but Jim Hammett was there. He did a great job. Matt Hawley, our photographer, was there. He did a great job. We got a lot of coverage from Acrisure Stadium. And judging by the message boards, a lot of you were there as well. And it was definitely interesting Saturday night, Saturday night and yesterday throughout the day, just sort of reading the reactions. Like I say, I watched the game myself on the replay, but I read a lot of the reactions ahead of time, and then I watched it, and then I read more of the reactions, and I saw a lot of the same things that you guys did. And, obviously, one of the biggest things going into it was the change in format. And I don't know if people really thought about it much during the game. There ended up being, 3 offensive touchdowns scored and 1 kick return touchdown. So it's kind of funny because we talked a lot. I talked a lot leading into the spring game about how, over the last 4 spring games, there have only been 9 offensive touchdowns scored. At least this year should produce a little bit better results. Well, no, they only scored 3 offensive touchdowns. And let's be real. All right, so 5 touchdowns were scored, right? 1 was a defensive touchdown, so we set that aside. The offense, the gold team got credit for 4 touchdowns. They got the Derek Davis touchdown from Christian Veer, the Daniel Carter rushing touchdown. Now, I'm going to give him those 2. Those 2 are legit. The other 2, the kick return touchdown, that shouldn't have counted for anything. Shane Simon and Brandon George both clearly had Rodney Hammond and pulled up thinking that the play was over, and Rodney Hammond goes 91 yards or something. That one shouldn't have counted. And who was it? Jake Frannell ran for a touchdown. How can you have quarterback runs? The quarterbacks are off limits. I mean, I guess technically they could have blown the whistle if somebody got close enough, but I mean, a quarterback run touchdown seems like it's cheating just a little bit to give the offense a little bit. And they ran a couple plays. They were like quarterback keeps or read plays. Maybe there were options. I'm not sure exactly what the play call, RPO or something. But a quarterback run for a touchdown. So basically, the offense got 2 real touchdowns, and those were probably the 2 most interesting drives of the game for what they meant and showed about the offense, what they showed about the quarterbacks in particular, and some of the players on that side of the ball. Christian Veer had the first one, of course, going with the second-team offense against the first-team defense. Phil Dracovic led the second touchdown going against the second-team defense. And it was funny when this thing started, because you had Dracovic at the beginning of the blue gold game. You had Dracovic and the first team offense going against the second team defense. And I think it wasn't a 3-and-out. They got 1 first down. But then there was like a missed snap and then a sack on 3rd and 12. So second team defense pretty much puts the first team offense in its place. And then the second team offense comes out and goes down the field and scores a touchdown against the first team defense. It was almost the exact opposite of what we thought or expected where you thought, okay, first team offense, they're going to be able to have some success against the second team defense. Well, it didn't exactly work out that way. And actually, you got the opposite. You got more success out of the second team offense than you did the first team defense. I'll tell you, there's a lot of things to take away from that game on Saturday. We'll talk about some standout players and individual moments, but I'll tell you maybe the play that impressed me the most offensively, the one play that stood out to me the most, the one that I put, you can probably see it there, see 3 stars. You put 3 stars next to something, it must be a big one. Sometimes with these notes on the legal pad, I try and make the biggest markings just so when I'm talking here on a Morning Pitt video, I can just glance down and see the spot I want to get to immediately. But I put 3 stars on it because it might have been, if not the best play of the scrimmage, and it ranked pretty high on the plays, or it ranked pretty high on the list of the top plays from the scrimmage. If it wasn't the best play, it might have been one of the most important plays for individual players, for the offense, and maybe for the team as a whole. It was a 2nd and 11. It was on the touchdown drive, the Phil Dracovic-led touchdown drive with the first team offense against the second team defense. It was 2nd and 11. So they'd already converted a 3rd and 6. Picked up a blitz. Dracovic hung in the pocket and saw Bub Means standing all by himself at the 50. Easy, throw and catch. Easy little play there to pick up a first down at the 50. Tried to run a sweep with Miles Alston at the 50. Don't do that. They end up losing a yard, and it's 2nd and 11. And you probably know the play I'm going to talk to. It ended up being a completion to Bub Means. And there were a few things that stood out to me about this play that I really liked, and I thought, boy, if that play is indicative of what they're capable of doing this year, they've got a chance. Because, Means was kind of coming across the field. Dracovic threw to him, and it was a high pass, and Means had to jump for it to make the catch. And it was a great catch, a really good play by Bub Means to pick up the first down. I like the throw from Dracovic because he's trusting Means in that situation. He's putting, it's a ball that Means had to jump for. And he had to put it that high to get it over the defender who was in front of Means. But you're putting a significant amount of trust in Bub Means to make the jump and make the catch, because if he doesn't jump or if he doesn't time it right, if the ball tips off his hands, there's a defender to Means' right and a defender behind him as well. That ball's getting picked off. That's a tip drill ball if he doesn't make the catch. It's the MJ Devonshire Pitt 6, game winner against West Virginia if he doesn't make that catch. There's a defender lined up behind him ready to make that exact kind of play. So he's putting a lot of trust in Bub Means, which I think is huge. I think that's a really important step for Dracovic to trust his receiver and then put the ball right where it needs to be to give the guy a chance to make a play. And then for Means to actually make it. Over the course of spring, I've been more and more impressed with Bub Means' athleticism, with what he brings, all those sort of physical traits. And I think I've talked about this at different times, that I feel like when he gets to his pro day next year or whenever it comes, he's probably going to test really well. He's probably going to run really fast. He's probably going to jump really high. He's got those physical abilities. He's a freak athlete. But can he be a wide receiver? Is he a refined wide receiver? And I'm not sure if he is or not. I'm not going to say that he's there yet. But if Pitt can rely on him to consistently catch the ball downfield, to consistently make plays like that, that's huge. If you get a guy with his physical skills and he starts to become a reliable receiver, a strong route runner, and a guy who can make those physical plays, those athletic plays, that's a game changer. And so you've got a quarterback who can put the ball there. And for whatever you want to say about Drakovic's performance, let me look. It's, it wasn't anything to write home about. He was 5 of 7 for 51 yards. Like I say, I was kind of reading some of the reactions before I watched the replay of the spring game, and there was some feeling that Veer was better than Dracovic, and I kind of see where that came from. I don't think either quarterback did a whole lot. I don't feel like either quarterback got all that many opportunities to really make a play, and they didn't really do much with the opportunities that they had. I mean, Vera was really efficient. I thought he had a nice pass to Jake McConaughey on a on a post pattern that did well against that quarters coverage. I feel like the touchdown pass that he got was Derek Davis making a play, more than anything that Vera did. Vera did a good job getting the ball to David. I don't mean to, poo-poo it. He was efficient and protected the ball and did a good job getting it to his receivers. But Derek Davis made the touchdown play. Dracovic had a chance on a play action that he threw deep to Bub Means. And this is probably, for as much as I talk about that one play that Means made, this is the kind of play that they need him to make even more. Steph Hall gets there when the ball gets there and ends up breaking up the pass. I mean, Bub Means needs to develop into the kind of guy who can make that play because he's got the speed to get downfield. He's got the size that he should be able to win those battles and the leaping ability as well. He needs to make plays like that, consistently. They need to have that threat because I'm not sure that I don't think Konate Mumfield is a downfield threat. I'm not sure. I don't think Dejon Reynolds is a downfield threat. I don't think they have anybody really who profiles as a downfield threat, and so it's got to be him. Like Means is the closest thing they've got. He's got to be able to make those plays downfield. Dracovic gave him a good ball. I mean, I didn't think he really had to slow up. I didn't think it was overthrown. I thought he put the ball where it needed to be. Means just didn't make the play. So that needs to improve. But so there was that. I was trying to think of like other times when the quarterbacks had a chance to really make a play. And there wasn't much. I mean, that was probably the closest they came to trying to stretch the field. And so those two plays from Dracovic to Means, I mean, the one where Means is just standing all by himself, he's wide open. That was sort of an easy one, but that completion on 2nd and 11, I think was important for a lot of those reasons because of the promise it shows for Means as a weapon in the receiving game, which he wasn't last year. I think he made a couple good catches in the Sun Bowl. It was pretty clutch in that game-winning drive. But on the whole, he wasn't really reliable as a big play receiver, and that's what they need him to be this season. Dracovic versus Vera, like say, I didn't think either guy really had that many opportunities to make plays, and they didn't do much with the opportunities they had. I thought they were both okay. They were both efficient. Vera had a couple passes that were kind of like off the mark. I thought Dracovic was a little more accurate with his throwing. I think you could see the arm talent that both guys have. Again, that pass, to come back to that one that I keep talking about, the pass to Bub Means. I mean, that was a ball that was put sort of in an exact spot where it needed to be to give Means a chance to make the play. Now, it's dangerous because if Means doesn't make the catch, then it's a turnover probably, or at least has a high percentage chance of being a turnover. But I thought it was a strong throw, and even the pass where Means was wide open, the pocket didn't collapse, but I mean there was a blitz coming. They picked up the blitz well. It was a tight space for Dracovic to operate, and when he sees Means wide open, I mean the pass came out real quick, and it was just it was gone. And I think that arm talent that Dracovic has, I think it's impressive. And, I think you saw a couple instances of that on Saturday. Not a lot, probably by design, but you saw a few instances of it, which I think was encouraging. Elsewhere on the offense, Ryan Baer rotating in at left tackle, I thought the first team offensive line was fine. Maybe took a little while to get going, but I thought they were fine. The running backs, I think the running backs are fine. And I think Daniel Carter probably is getting a lot of the pub coming out of this. I haven't read too much of the write-ups on the running backs or what people have reacted to. But 8 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. He easily had the best stat line of any of the running backs. I just I like Daniel Carter. I think he's a nice player. They need somebody carrying the ball consistently, somebody who can break a big run when the opportunity's there. I think Daniel Carter has a ceiling on how far he's going to get downfield before he's caught. I don't know who the best option for a breakaway runner is. Maybe Sebo Flemister. I think might have a greater chance of pulling that off, or capitalizing when the opportunity presents itself. Maybe even, probably greater chance than Rodney Hammond. I'm not sure how Derek Davis's speed really stacks up compared to Flemister. Be interested to see those two guys kind of, racing, I guess, but they need somebody who can break it open. Because that's the one element that I haven't quite seen out of the running backs yet, and so that's what I'm looking for. Is which of those guys can kind of emerge like that? It might be Flemister. I think Flemister might end up having a decently sized role in this running game come the fall, but that'll be interesting to watch as it plays out. Jake Renda, more opportunities than he's gotten really at any point in his Pitt career, largely due to Gavin Bartholomew being out for this one. Little athleticism, still kind of, he still looks skinny, still seemed like he got pushed around a little bit. But made some nice catches, made a couple nice runs after the catch. But I think on the whole, most of the focus on offense was on the quarterbacks, and understandably so. And the rest of the receiver group, without Konate Mumfield, without Dejon Reynolds, it was such a. I don't want to say it was a mess, but it was hard to keep track of who was out there and who was doing what and who they were even trying to throw to. Because let me bring up that stat. Wide receivers who caught passes. Bub Means had 2 catches. Izzy Polk had 2 catches. Lamar Seymour had 2 catches and a couple more targets. Jake McConaughey had 1 catch for 24 yards. Josh Altsman, I think, is a receiver. Maybe he's a tight end. I actually don't know that off the top of my head. Had 1 catch, and that was it. So, that's your receiving group that you're talking about. Means, Polk, Seymour, McConaughey, those are your leading receivers in this game. So it was not exactly representative of what Pitt has, but it was representative of the fact that if you have 1 or 2 injuries, this is what you're getting into. I kind of wrote about this last week on Panther-Lair.com in one of our spring camp wrap-ups, that when the current state or the state of Pitt's current receiver roster, it's so thin right now that 1 injury or 2 injuries, and you're talking about those guys that I just listed, that Means, obviously he's one of the top guys, but you're talking about Polk, Seymour, McConaughey. That's where you're at, Miles Alston, and that's not to disparage these guys. This isn't personal, but that doesn't feel like. Those don't feel like guys who should be on your top line of receivers. And they're not going to be on the top line of receivers, but you're not very far away from them taking over, stepping into one of those roles. It's 1 injury. It's 2 injury. They had 2 guys out on Saturday. And that's what they ended up with. That's where they, and I think that speaks to something we've all talked about for a while, that they probably need to go get a receiver out of the transfer portal, someone else to join this roster to help just kind of fill out the group. And it's late now. You'd like to have had someone in here in January, and maybe they should have made a little more concerted effort to try and get a January enrollee at wide receiver. But they were unable to do so. They need to get someone now. I think Bub Means came in last year post-spring. I think he was a summer edition. But it's not ideal. And I guess I should say that, when I say they should have tried to get someone in, they did. They got Dejon Reynolds here, in addition to the 2 freshmen who enrolled early. But, when you look at the situation right now, it feels like maybe they should have tried to get another guy in. And I have to think that that'll be, what Pat Narduzzi said, they have 3 empty scholarship spots. I have to think that'll be one of the focal points, is trying to find a wide receiver in the portal. We've seen them go after Jaquay Jackson. Local kid who went to Cal U and is in the transfer portal. He's got Power 5 offers from all over the place. He was at Pitt a week or so ago, I think it was. So clearly, there are efforts being made there. But I think when you look at who they were rolling out there on Saturday, I think that really painted the picture. You know what I mean? And laid it out and said, this is the situation, which is not great. I'm bullish on Konate Mumfield. I think he can be really good with the right kind of usage. I'm holding out hope on Bub Means that he's going to be able to put it together with some of the, refining some of the finer points of playing receiver to add to all that physical ability. And I think the freshmen are good. I think Lamar Seymour is, I like his size. I think Izzy Polk looks intriguing, a little bit smaller, but still decent size and seems to have pretty good speed and shake. I think there are good players in that group. Maybe even somebody like Miles Alston can emerge, or Javonte Royal, who certainly is big and athletic enough, although he didn't get much run at all with the first or second team offense until late in the scrimmage on Saturday, at least what I could see. So it's just not a great situation. It's not particularly deep, and probably there are questions about talent beyond a certain point in that receiver room right now. So I think we all talked about it throughout spring. I think most people realized it before spring camp, but in case there was anybody still holding out the thought that they didn't need to go get another transfer receiver, the spring game I think made that point pretty clear. I thought we'd sit down here and talk about the whole spring game on today's Morning Pit, but here we are. We're already 20 minutes in, and all we've done is the offense. So it looks like this is a two-part review of the spring game. We got to talk about the defense tomorrow. I got a lot of thoughts about the defense, and I think there was one guy in particular. I mean, a few guys had good performances. I could probably list the top 3 stars or something like that. But there was one guy in particular that I said, this dude's going to play next year. This year. He's going to make a contribution. He's going to make an impact. I'm looking forward to talking about that tomorrow. Before we go, make sure you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. And of course, go check out the website, Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. We'll be back in the Panther-Lair.com studios tomorrow, but I appreciate you coming along for the impromptu kind of thrown together. I got different microphone, headphones set up, and like I say, we're on location. So it's fun, but we made do, and I appreciate you checking it out today. So I hope you enjoyed the spring game on Saturday. It seems like the weather was beautiful in Pittsburgh, and nice day to be at Acrisure Stadium. Hope you had a great weekend overall, and I hope your week gets off to a great start today. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning on the Morning Pit right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com.